This is Front Page with Njideka Maduka, bringing clarity to the headlines, one page at a time.
Absolutely. Welcome to Front Page with me, Njideka Maduka. It's a lovely Friday. It's July the 17th, right? Yes, July the 17th, 2026. And of course, quite a number of things happening. The weather, the weather is okay. Just a bit of showers here. Incidentally, we don't get to experience the kind of weather we experienced last July. That is 2025 July. Remember that particular year? It rained from the very first day of July to the very end of July, and of course even up to the next month, and people kept wondering. But this particular July is not everyday rain thing, so we are thankful for the fair weather. Alright, so welcome once again. It is the Front Page. This is where we get to look at all of the stories, major stories on our national dailies, and try as much as possible to make sense of them. Last week we were treated with some good news coming from Oyo State. That is the rescue of the kidnapped pupils and teachers. I mean, we were so delighted. I was filled with respite and happiness because nobody can really imagine what it is to stay in that forest for such a long time. But of course, Nigeria is not where you get to have respite all the time, because this week another controversy is brewing. We're trying to see the end of it. It's part of what we are going to be looking at on Front Page today. So you're very much welcome. Let's see what we have. We have the Punch, we have the Sun, and of course we have the Bandit.
This is Front Page with Njideka Maduka, bringing clarity to the headlines, one page at a time.
On the Punch, a big bold headline here: nurse's death. Umahi police fight bid to stop autopsy. Nurse's death. Umahi police fight bid to stop autopsy. Well, the lead says the Minister of Works, David Umahi, and Ebonyi State Police Command have demanded an autopsy to unravel the circumstances that led to the death of a 26-year-old nurse, Mary Habila, whose corpse was reportedly found at the minister's residence in Uburu or Hazara, local government area of Ebonyi State. Their demand followed the request by the deceased father, Njideka Habila, to the Ebonyi State High Court to withdraw the police investigation into his daughter's death. Quite a sad tale reaching us, and we have been following this particular story when it reached the public domain after the Sahara reporters gave us a report alluding to the fact that the Minister of Works, David Umahi, kept mum despite that there was a death incident in his residence in Ebonyi State, and they tried to insinuate that it was suspicious that the deceased person was there as a secondment to the minister. I mean, secondment could mean anything. From my own understanding, it could be somebody who had been deployed from their official place of work to do other kind of work outside that area. And so the picture they painted was maybe the minister had called them for some sort of suspicious service. But of course, as far as the Front Page on the Punch is concerned, the real issue here is the fact that instead of autopsy being demanded after the story went public, the father of the deceased is saying no, he doesn't want autopsy, that is against his culture, and they do not suspect anything. And now the headline is saying that Umahi and the police are actually practically begging the family to at least accept the autopsy. Whether the police will accept that is another matter altogether, especially as this has become some public news. But left for some people, this should be looked into because of the personality involved. I mean, this is a minister of the Federal Republic, and you know how people are with public officials. They do not think that they should be allowed to escape the arm of the law. If they are found wanting, at least investigation should be carried out. But you know, when it comes to this kind of story, outside the people who are genuinely calling for investigation, there are other two categories or sets of people. There are people who are doing this because of the seemingly controversial nature of David Umahi. We know him when he was a governor. We know his controversies with journalists. He would threaten journalists if they found any report that would harm his administration, or he saw that was harmful to the administration. We saw him even as a minister still fall out with journalists, right? Now, the second set of people are those who are coming from the political angle. These are the people who do not think that anything good can come from politicians, right? These are the people who may also be partisan, right? Because this is a man who had challenged Peter Obi to a debate, and now he's facing this issue, and they'll be like, okay, here comes the debate. Oh, the debate has come. He's debating with himself. Okay, so you have different interests as far as this is concerned. But the meat of the matter is an investigation is being carried out, is expected. But there is something I also found quite curious as far as this issue is concerned, and that is the fact that the police is calling for autopsy, just like the headline said. And I'm wondering, why is the police calling for autopsy? Because the initial report was after the lady was found dead in her room. The police, the divisional police in Ohazara, was called in before the case was transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department. Now, one would think that from the time she died, which was June 27, up to the very moment, we should have gotten to a substantial level with the investigation. There should have been some sort of substantial report as to the level of the investigation and the autopsy itself. Right, and now the police is calling for investigation at this moment. I mean, autopsy at this moment. And I'm wondering, why are you calling for autopsy at the moment? When you should be giving us feedback as to the level you have reached when it comes to investigation and even autopsy. Right, because autopsy will require you, from what I looked up and found, will require you, in the first instance, taking a closer look at that room where the young lady died. Take a picture, video the room, look at her at close range and see whether there had been something suspicious, and then maybe you begin to take some sort of samples to determine whether the blood that flowed from her followed some sort of a struggle with anybody. But a situation where the body had been removed from the room and is now at the mortuary, one wonders the environment where the death happened, where all of the evidences that would help the autopsy really taken. Does police have a good view of what could help the autopsy as far as that environment is concerned? And now she has been at the mortuary since her death in June, right? And if she's been in the mortuary, is there no possibility that maybe the composition of our body could have undergone some alterations due to some chemical reactions? And whether if you did any kind of autopsy, whether physically or internally, you could get something credible to be able to ascertain, what went wrong with her or why she died. That is one thing I noticed, and for me, we need to ask questions around that. Can autopsy be done, weeks or even days after a death occurs? And can we trust the police to give us the real picture of what happened. They also said she had some medical record with a Turkish hospital. These are the things autopsy should be able to help us to review. But the moment where they're telling us the autopsy is still being debated whether to be carried out or not, it raises a question as to what was the essence of the investigation that they said started after her death. Or is it the kind of usual reports that you give to the police and then they take down your statement and that's it? Because I've been in a situation where, my property was snatched, right? And you would go to the police to file a report and that's it. There is no investigation. The report is just like a formality. Was that what really happened? Because if indeed investigation was being carried out, the police should be giving us the report of where they are as far as the investigation is concerned, the stage that they are, and not necessarily coming to tell us that they're still trying to plead with the family to carry out autopsy. I just hope that we get to the end of it. Now that's it on the Punch. The next paper before us is the Sun newspaper, and of course let's take a look at the Sun. It says names of those who died as far back as 2011 remain on INEC's records. Amokbeto. Names of those who died as far back as 2011 remain on INEC's records. Amokbeto. Then you have a rider here as commission partners NIMC for transparent election, clean voter registration. As a commission partners NIMC for transparent election, clean voter registration. We learned that our INEC chairman Joash Amagbeto met with the NIMC DG, and they're trying to see how they can collaborate to ensure that we have a credible voter register. This is just so funny because it reminds me of the number of times you would see reports where close to the election, any kind of election, you will see INEC chairman meeting with relevant stakeholders just to enhance the credibility of the election. At the end of the day, you wonder, okay, how did it all end and how did they reflect in the election that went down? But this time around, in terms of the headline, they said some persons who died since 2011 are still in the voter register. We have IBIS, which is the automated biometric identification system. What it does is it helps us to identify those who want to do double registration. Anybody who at all wants to change the system or maybe out of ignorance wants to register again, the INEC can easily detect that and seal it away. But the thing about this one of dead people, because IBIS cannot take care of it, is that where the NIMC comes in? Because if you're meeting NIMC, that's the Identity Management Commission, it means that you should be asking for something related to a central database. Yes, if you have a central database that is connected to that of INEC, then the chances of having a credible register is high. If you have Nigerians with their names and their data, you share data between the two agencies. When somebody, for example, when somebody is registered with NIMC and it has been authenticated that the person, is no more, the person is late, and then any information from NIMC can go directly to INEC, and INEC should be able to delete it. If we have a centralized database, this is what we should ordinarily be getting, right? And so even the National Population Commission can come in, because I think that is where that is the commission that should be harboring birth register and death register. Once a hospital records somebody through technology and informs MPC that the person is dead, then if all of these agencies are harmonized, once this information is gotten here, it goes to the other agency, it goes to the other agency, then we can have a very credible register. If that is not what Amokweto and the NIMC DG are discussing, then I don't know what else they should be discussing, because if you look at our register, quite a number of questions remain unanswered. We still see underage people still vote, so you wonder what's the whole essence of it. We're leaving that particular story. We're moving on to the last one, which is the Vanguard. On the Vanguard, it says 4 kidnapped during NECO exams rescued. Kogi government. 4 kidnapped during NECO exams rescued. Kogi government. Basically, those who were kidnapped during, a few days ago from Kogi State during the NECO exam. They said the center was unauthorized center. Perhaps that was what also contributed to their kidnap, because a registered center recognized one should be having some sort of security, right? But the good news is that they have been rescued, because when they were kidnapped, a number of persons were quite worried. Your incident again, what's happening with our security? But thankfully they have been rescued. The governor talked about how he gave a marching order to the state security advisor, and of course the president also gave his marching order, and everything was resolved at the end of the day. So we're quite happy about that. We hope not to see any kidnap incident again. The ones in Borno State are still there. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to rescue them. Hopefully not later, because when all your students were released, people made reference to what is still going on in the north, especially Borno State. What is the state of those kidnapped persons? Please, let's do something about it. But that's it on the front page today. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to share your thoughts, drop your comments, let us know what you think on any of the headlines. Which of them actually tickles your fancy? Would like to hear from you. Follow me on my social media platforms. Just log on to linktree.ee/Njideka Maduka. linktree.ee/Njideka Maduka. I will see you on the next episode. Do have a fantastic Friday, and of course a great weekend.